Venom is a 2018 American superhero film. The movie is about a journalist who investigates experiments in human trials in a company. Unwittingly, he gets merged with a symbiotic alien with lethal abilities and fights the CEO. The movie begins with a spaceship that is shipping 4 samples of symbiotics from space to the Earth. Suddenly, the spaceship catches fire and it speeds up toward the ground. The company called Life Foundation learns about the incident and they inform the police to investigate. One of the 4 symbiotics escapes from there and enters the body of one of the crew members. The police find an injured man whom they immediately put in the ambulance and start toward the hospital. On the way, the symbiotic in the man's body activates. Because the 4th symbiotic that escaped had entered the body of this man. After the crash, a girl comes out whom now the symbiotic has occupied. The symbiotic takes the girl to California, where Life Foundation has its headquarters. The scene then shifts to a news reporter named Eddie Brock who is sleeping on his bed. He lives with his girlfriend who is a lawyer. She works for the Life Foundation where Brock is also employed. Later, he goes to the office and he is informed by the CEO to interview the owner of the Life Foundation company. He instructs Brock that he will ask him about his inventions only. At night, Brock sees confidential mail on Anne's laptop. The mail is from Life Foundation and it states that the company is playing with the lives of common people. It states that the experiment the company conducts is very dangerous for the people. He then learns the hidden purposes of the foundation. Later, the owner is the Life Foundation named Carlton Drake is shown who is talking to a group of children about the inventions of his company. In the meantime, Brock comes there for the interview. At first, the interview goes as it is planned but later Brock starts asking the questions which he is not supposed to ask. He asks him why his company conducts dangerous experiments that could take the lives of uncountable people. Upon this, Drake gets angry and he asks to end the interview immediately. He calls for the security and Brock is taken away. Afterward, Brock reports to his boss who gets angry at him for asking prohibited questions. He then fires him from his job. Later, Anne is also fired from her job and Brock says sorry to her for going the wrong way. However, she does not listen to him and breaks up with him, giving him the ring he had given her. On the other hand, the girl who is possessed by the symbiotic arrives elsewhere and is almost exhausted to death. Not long after, when some men try to attack her, the symbiotic inside her beats them in no time. The symbiotic then enters the body of another old woman. The movie shifts to 6 months later to the laboratory of Life Foundation. Drake as well as his several scientists are experimenting on a rabbit. They let the symbiotic enter the body of the rabbit. However, a little later the rabbit dies. On the other hand, broken-hearted Brock is drinking alcohol in a bar and he watches the news of Drake on the television who is telling that his company is about to launch another spaceship. The spaceship will fly to another world and will import new technologies to the Earth. Brock angrily comes out of the bar and outside he sees a disabled woman named Maria sitting by the roadside. She is holding a newspaper and he asks her to give it to him. He gives him some money in return for it. He then enters a store and suddenly a robber breaks into the store. He holds the gun at the receptionist and asks her to give him all the money and a bottle of whiskey. Brock is watching all this from behind the shelf. He buys himself something, pays the receptionist, and goes away. On the other side, Drake conducts an experiment on a man and lets a symbiotic enter his body. However, it takes the life of the man not later. One of the scientists named Dora Skirth is watching all this along with Drake, but she could not stand seeing a man die in front of her. After that, she contacts Brock and tells him that Life Foundation is conducting dangerous experiments which kill humans. She says Drake has planned to go to another planet and that is why he is conducting dangerous experiments on common people. She says Drake is finding another habitable planet for him. She says their company has found such a planet where millions of life forms exist. She says their foundation took 4 samples from that planet but one of them escaped. She urges him to cover the news on Drake's illegal acts which jeopardize humans. After that, she takes her to the laboratory where he photographs all the humans who have been affected by the symbiotics. He also learns that Maria has also undergone such an experiment. She asks for help and he breaks the glass. She comes out of the chamber and attacks him instead because a symbiotic is inside her. It then leaves her body and enters Brock. During this time, the alarms in the vicinity ring and he runs at an exceptional speed and leaves behind the security guards. Eventually, he climbs a high tree and when the security goes away he climbs down. Afterward, he goes to his home and he starts to eat whatever he finds in the house. He then vomits in the bathroom and when he sees himself in the mirror, he sees his face changed and he is taken aback. He then phones his girlfriend Anne. He calls on her who is sitting with a man with whom she is in a relationship in a restaurant. He behaves strangely in the restaurant and eats bizarrely. He then sits in a fish tank and he eats the crumbs. Anne and her boyfriend take him to the hospital for treatment. As he is taken to an MRI test, he yells and shivers. The doctor announces that his reports will be by tomorrow and that he should go home now. On the other hand, Drake learns that his wad none other than Dora who called Brock into the company. He is infuriated with her. He leaves a symbiotic at her. On the other side, Brock comes home and he feels weakness in his body. He hears the voice of music from the neighbor's apartment which makes him uneasy. He knocks at his door and tells him to stop singing. Later, Drake's guards break into his house to catch him. But the symbiotic inside him fights the guards and beats all of them. He flees from there and rides his motorbike. Drake is watching all this via the drones. He runs the bike at high speed while the guards are chasing him. He dodges the guards which creates a mess on the roads. He then hits a car and falls, causing injuries to his body. Suddenly, his body turns into a monster and he beats the guards again. He flees from there and sails through the river. After he approaches a safe place, he asks the symbiotic named Venom why he entered his body. It tells him that he came from another planet and that it entered his body because he found him stable to survive. It asks him to help it reach its planet. Back in the laboratory, another symbiotic dies and Drake is very angry about this. He lashes out at the scientists for not saving the symbiotics. Meanwhile, a kid walks into the vicinity and Drake tells her that the place is closed now and the kids are not allowed inside. Soon, the kid comes close and she chokes him. The symbiotic from her body transfers to his body. On the other side, Brock wants to reveal the truth about Life Foundation and that the police arrest Drake. He goes to his company where his best friend named William denies him an entry. He gets angry with him. Outside, Venom tells him it can transport him to any floor of the building if he wants. In a blink of an eye, it carries Brock to the top of the skyrocketing building. He enters the cabin of his boss and there he leaves a note as well as evidence for his boss. The note reads, "Do the right things." He places a valet which contains the evidence against Drake. When he is about to leave the building, the guards of Drake besiege him. Suddenly, he turns into the Venom and kills them one by one. They shoot him and explode explosives but the Venom seems unhurt. He eats one of the guards. In the meantime, Anne arrives there. When Brock sees her he turns into his original human. He tells her to go away from there right away, but she seems reluctant to go and instead asks him to go with her to the doctor. She drives him to her boyfriend to a hospital. As they start his treatment, his body receives shock due to the unstable situation of Venom inside. Venom then exits his body due to high frequency. Brock seems very happy after seeing Venom leave his body. When he is about to go out of the hospital, Drake's guards again appear there and they abduct him. They take him to the headquarters where Drake speaks to him. He asks Brock to give him Venom but Brock says it has already left his body. Drake then turns into a symbiotic and asks him to give Venom at any condition. He then orders his men to kill Brock outside. They take him to a forest to kill him but suddenly Venom appears there in the body of Anne. It fights the guards. Venom comes out of her body and enters Brock's body. It reveals to him that it has discovered the hidden purposes of Drake. Venom says Drake is about to go their planet to steal more symbiotic samples. Venom warns that the Earth will destroy if the symbiotics are brought here. They then decide to stop Drake from doing so. On the other hand, Drake asks his scientists to ready the spaceship in the next 5 minutes. They warn him that he should go to an unknown planet but he says he is not alone on this mission. One of his scientists learns that Drake is possessed by a symbiotic and he stops him from doing so. He then turns into a dragon and kills all the scientists and launches the spaceship. As he is running toward the spaceship, Venom stops his way. They both fight intensively. Seeing them fight, Anne comes there and she lauds the volume of the frequency which causes the symbiotics to leave their hosts and come out. However, the symbiotic returns to Drake's body. He kills Brock and runs for the spaceship which is going to another planet. Nevertheless, Venom returns to Brock's body and then goes to the spaceship. He tears the spaceship with the weapon that Drake hit Brock in the chest which causes a big explosion. Due to the intense heat, Drake dies and Venom leaves Brock's body. The following day, Anne and Brock meet up and they talk while sitting on the threshold of a house. She feels as if Venom is still in his body but convinces her that it is no more. He then leaves her and on the way he talks to Venom. He tells it that if it wants to live in the world, it must have some rules. It must not kill good people. He tells it that the bad people are those who hurt others. Brock then enters the store from where he used to buy things for himself. Suddenly, the same robber appears at the counter that had appeared earlier. Before the robber could rob the lady, the Venom appears and it chokes the man. It eats the man instantly. Brock then turns to his original human and leaves the store. The movie ends there.